Welcome back to TBS's 24th anniversary special. The world comes to Seoul. We're out at Cheonggye Square in the Jongno district of central Seoul for this special outdoor broadcast. A wonderful opportunity for me to see Seoul in action in this amazing location. One of my favorite places, it has to be said, as we pointed out earlier in the show, for one very special reason. It's got this wonderful breeze which during the hot summer days and evenings can make it a very pleasant place to come and relax. It's not only a relaxation venue though, this is a business hub. We are surrounded by students, by tourists, but by businessmen and women walking past on their daily errands. It's quite hard to get them to stop for very long, but Taru Salminem, who is a 15-year Seoul resident from Finland, a well-known face and voice in this country for her media appearances, is in our mobile studio. Can you just tell me a bit more about your business, how that came about? Because you've done something that obviously is a bit more involved than just visiting the country.
Yes, that's true. Well, all of it just happened. Actually, I was interested in Korea and also other Asian countries since I was like 15 years old. And then I somehow ended up here in 1998. And since then, I've been in and out of the country, studying here, living here, working here. And then 4 years ago, I finally decided to realize my dream, which is to do something with makgeolli. And makgeolli is, as you know, the Korean rice brew. And I just then started my own little makgeolli business, restaurant.
Do you know something, Taru?
Yes.
Just picking up on something you've said there, I started to realize my dream. I hear in this country so many references to dreams.
Yes.
Do you feel that the rapid development that we've seen here has made people think that especially business dreams and career dreams can come true?
Yes, I definitely do think so. I think people, they feel that Korea is the land of opportunities. You know, there are lots of, people are very ready to try something new. If you have an idea and people hear about it, they are trendsetters.
Well, alongside you, who's just taken his place in our mobile studio here at Cheonggye Square, we have Thilo Halter, the president of the European Chamber of Commerce in Korea, and is also then in a great position to talk about the post-miracle of the Han. Maybe it's still in motion. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Good morning. I think the miracle of the Han River has been well known in the rest of the world, but I think the attractiveness of the Korean market is not just a miracle of the Han River. It is what led ultimately to that miracle and the result of it. Today, Korea is the fourth largest economy in Asia. It has vast industrial competitiveness, and this is a very important factor. Korea has a high level of skilled manpower and has an open trade environment because of the numerous FTAs, free trade agreements that have been concluded lately.
And when we look at the breakdown of the business environment that we've been referring to, especially looking around us, we've got the high rises and logos and names. If you can read Hangul, you don't always have to read Hangul, by the way, very recognizable all around us. So we see this domination of big businesses, conglomerates, chaebol as they're known here. What are your thoughts, Mr. Halter, on chaebol culture?
Well, chaebol has been, I think the miracle of the Han was partially possible because of the chaebols. When resources are scarce, you need to focus on putting the right resources in the right industries. And the chaebols have certainly had, on the positive side, it was maybe a good strategy to concentrate funds into certain strategic industries that would ultimately support the national economy. So in that sense, the chaebols have been helping much growing Korea. But there is, of course, a negative side also, because the chaebols concentrate basically all the good resources in terms of staff. And it's very difficult for small and medium-sized enterprises to get a foot into the market here.
Taru, you're so youthful, it's hard to believe you've already been in Seoul for 15 years. Over that time, your friends, have they all been very keen to work for the big companies?
Actually, yeah. My Korean friends, you know the Korean dream. You are supposed to study hard and graduate from a prestigious university and then get a good job in a big company. But actually there are so many people wanted to do that it's actually a very, very hard thing to actually realize to do it. And many people they are just depressed because of that, and oh no, I'm a failure. My parents are expecting this and that.
Yes.
And then on the other hand, I know lots of small and medium-sized business owners, and what they tell me is that every time they have trained somebody and he's really good at his work, then he will be scouted by a chaebol, and they will offer him much more money and all the benefits, and he's off. So
yeah, and maybe that is for many a reality, but Taru, for you as a business owner, someone who's gone it alone, what would your advice be?
Yeah, actually, as far as I understand, the Korean government is actually making some efforts to make people think about entrepreneurship and, starting their own companies. And actually, for our foreign listeners today, it is not that easy to start a business if you're a foreigner here, but there are lots of places where you can get help. I attended a business course here in the Seoul Global Center and got lots of hints and useful contacts from there, so it's not impossible.
And that's also really good advice if you're a member of the expat community here, and plenty also want to get involved and see this opportunity.
Right.
And Mr. Halter, I know you're involved in also attracting and encouraging this two-way street with European business and Korean business. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, what are your thoughts on that? It's complete opposites, really, of what you were talking about last time about the chaebol.
Well, entrepreneurship requires a broad education system that allows for creativity, and there is certainly a lack of entrepreneurship in the small and medium-sized companies for a reason that you have just mentioned earlier. They're either snatched away, the good talents are snatched away, and from a reputation point of view, it's not really the best idea to start your own business, because everybody wants to start working for the chaebols, and that's a little bit the problem. There is no entrepreneur, or there's a lack of entrepreneurial culture in the education system.
Well, there are some hard realities here, as we're hearing. I mean, there are very much two sides. There's, according to a recent survey on 201 foreign CEOs in Korea, conducted by the Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry in January, 55.2% said Korea is not a good place to do business. Mr. Halter, can you elaborate a bit more on the major obstacles there that are resulting in that kind of answer?
Well, the major obstacles we have consistently repeated during the last months and years. The key point is consistency and transparency of regulations. As a CEO of a foreign invested company, it is very difficult to keep up with regulations and changes in regulations, and my fellow business executives often suspect that the government imposes even regulation that might function as non-tariff barriers. Let me elaborate on this KCCI survey that we have observed with great interest. The reason why those 55% consider the business environment in Korea unfavorable, 1/3 basically confirms that inconsistency in policies, volatility in economic conditions and over-regulations tends to be an obstacle. And what worries us more is that almost every second company surveyed is planning to reduce operations in Korea if the government continues with certain anti-business laws.
Right. Mr. Halter, if I could stay with you for a moment as we're getting more and more gathering in front of us here in Cheonggye Square. Hello to everyone who's checking us out here at TBS, of course, celebrating our 24th anniversary here for The World Comes to Seoul. But Mr. Halter, if I can elaborate further again on your last answer, this move towards deregulation, we then saw subsequently a series of public safety accidents which have, in a totally different area, actually encouraged other regulations. It seems to have brought a slightly confused picture, because when we look at regulations, often we talk about X number of regulations and we're reducing them to Y number of regulations. What is the reality? Are we going to see the hurdles cleared where they need to be cleared, in the right areas?
Well, obviously there are many regulations that make sense and they're very necessary for public safety and just to keep business fair and transparent. However, it is always important to think about the consequences of regulations in due time, and it is always important to reflect that the impact of regulations on those businesses you would like to attract. Korea would like to attract foreign direct investment because it's very important to sustain growth of the economy here in the future. So if you want to attract foreign direct investment, you need to figure out the impact on the foreign companies here. And it's not always fully reflected, and maybe this fits to what was presented earlier, to the pali culture.
Yes.
There's regulations being implemented. They're meant to be helping, but they need some further reflection and thinking through and consultation with respective partners if they should not adversely affect the business.
Taru, if I can also bring you back in on this, because again, with your own business experience here,
right.
we also hear the movement not only towards supporting entrepreneurs, but smaller businesses, SMEs.
Yes.
And you said you got the support of Seoul Global Centre, which is great.
Right,
But
yes.
In your experience and from what you've witnessed, do you feel that some of these are just words, or do you think the action is really backing up the support that we're hearing about for smaller businesses?
Well, my first thought is that Koreans, when they see that there's a problem, there's something that they have to do something about, they're usually pretty fast in doing that. But however, I don't know, even if they're saying that they are going to clear the hurdles for the foreign companies, I don't know if they actually go through with that 100% because they want to protect their own industries anyway, despite the FTA and all the stuff. But however, I'm hopeful.
Mr. Holter, SMEs are an important part of the puzzle, aren't they? Do you feel we still have a long way to go?
There's a long way to go, but there's also a big chance for Korea if Korea allows for small, medium-sized companies to get a foot into the market, and if the right support is being done to those companies, the next level of growth for Korea is certainly a possibility. I strongly believe that this is what Korea needs to further grow and to foster creativity.
Clearly, we're looking at export SMEs as attracting particular attention, and they will benefit, presumably, from now South Korea's concluded more than 10 free trade agreements. You talked about the importance of the FTAs earlier on. The EU, something you know all about, is very much linked to this, having already concluded an FTA with Korea. The reality, though, tell us how that plays into the marketplace and why it's so important.
Well, the EU-Korea FTA has certainly been very helpful for both European and Korean companies. Of course, there's always criticism about uneven distribution of benefits and costs. And of course, some industrial sectors might be benefiting more than others. But it's maybe also a little bit early and premature to really qualify whether the EU FTA has been a success, because the EU FTA coincides with a sluggish economy in Europe. So some claim that the European have benefited more than the Koreans,
yes,
which is definitely not really true, because it's premature to judge that.
Yes, and we see with all these FTAs there is a staging of this process. It's not a case that everybody benefits right away. And in addition to what you've said about economic trends, we will have to reserve judgment for now. We're out of time. We wish we could hold on to you longer here at Cheonggye Square. We're going to have to let you go. Thilo Holter, President of the European Chamber of Commerce in Korea. An absolute pleasure to have you here. And
thank you for being here.
And may we hold on to you for a bit longer, Taru?
Sure, of course.
Thank you very much. Taru Salminen has been in no rush, generally speaking, during her time, because actually 15 years in Seoul as a resident, having originally come here from Finland and become a media personality, a business person in her own right as well. So we'll continue there as we take a look at what the future holds in our fourth part in this special broadcast. The world comes to Seoul, celebrating the 24th anniversary of TBS after this short break.